Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Key to Football with me, Bobby Mays. I've got George Martins on with us today. George, how you doing?
Good, thank you, mate. Good, thank you. A little bit anxious following last night's result for Burnley, but other than that, all good. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Thanks, mate. Yeah, just cruising along. Good football going on at the moment. So yeah, really, really nice. Look, everybody, please do follow us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. You'll find this video on YouTube as well. And we're adding little things every time to the YouTube, so you can follow latest scores and whatnot as well on there. It's nice, it's cool. So find that at the Key to Football, all spelled correctly and normally. Look, we are back for another round. We've got some cool topics to discuss today. We'll go over the scores as well. George, you haven't been on for a little while. Is it like a week or so, maybe something like that?
I'm not sure. It's just you've been deliberately avoiding messages with me asking to do them. So I suppose it's on you to answer that question rather than me.
I feel like you've been hiding with the old Leeds results recently. I think that's what the actual reason is. Look, but George, you missed out on Monday. I think we had a podcast and we went through the weekend, we went through the title race, went through the quadruple. So I'll get your opinion on that. Also get your opinion on the United Liverpool game, which was great from my perspective. We're going to go through the gulf between the teams. So, you know, what's the difference between top three and the rest, or difference between relegation and the rest? And then we're going to go through a little bit of Leeds and Everton, see how that relegation battle's cleaning up. And then we're going to go through the fixtures. So quite a great little podcast we've got going today. George, let's start with the title race. Opinion on the weekends, maybe even the FA Cup, actually. And do you think Liverpool can do the quad? What do you think's what's actually going to happen? Yeah, give me your opinion.
Lot to dissect there. I suppose I should start chronologically with the FA Cup. I mean, I've said to you before off air, and I think Mays was very emotive. He was out of control. Probably had a few drinks. I just made the very simple point that I'm not saying I agree with this. I'm not saying it's what I would do, but I think this is probably the logic that's led us to where we are today. And that is that if Liverpool finish in the top four, which they will do, and they win both domestic trophies, that's the FA Cup and the League Cup, but don't win the Champions League or the Premier League, it wouldn't be the season that Liverpool fans would have hoped for, but it would have been a good season. I mean, haven't won the FA Cup since 2006? 2000? Yeah, I think that was Gerrard 2006, wasn't
it?
We
West
lost
Ham in 12, didn't we?
Yeah,
We
and then won the League Cup in 2011. So it's been, 15 years since the FA Cup, and then, nearly 10 years since the League Cup. So it's not a bad season getting Champions League again, and progress. It's not like you went out in the group stage, you got very far in it if indeed you didn't win it. However, for Manchester City, if they didn't win the Premier League, didn't win the Champions League, finished second with just the League Cup and the FA Cup, I think people would deem that as a poor season, as a bad season. I really, really do. I think all the critics who've been sat back waiting for Guardiola to fail, of which sometimes I am one, would come out and say, not good enough. You were ahead for a majority of the season. Poor decisions in games have let Liverpool back into it, and now here we are. So I think that perhaps Guardiola said, we're going to focus on the Premier League and the Champions League totally. The FA Cup is going to be our third team, and it's going to be that whether we're playing Liverpool or whether we're playing Aldershot, which is why I think that Liverpool obviously beat them so comfortably. It was a great performance from Liverpool, but it wasn't City's first team, and that is worth remembering. With the quad and where we are now, I think Liverpool have an obligation to do it. I think they've got a fantastic chance to do it, but I just think Liverpool will fall short. I think you'll definitely win 2 things this year, maybe 3, but I don't think you'll win all 4. And I think, believe it or not, Gary Neville mentioned it on his little podcast the other day after the Man United Liverpool game, where he said because Liverpool's squad isn't to the same deep quality of Manchester City's, at some point Klopp is going to need to make a decision where maybe it is against, maybe even Everton, where he has to go, right, Simcas in, Mane out, Jota in, Kanate in, Van Dijk out, Curtis Jones in, Thiago out, just to keep it going, because those players can beat Everton. But I do think that he's got a very difficult job of trying to balance priorities. Obviously, it should, in my view, it should be Premier League first, then Champions League, and then FA Cup. But we'll see. But I think Liverpool have got a fantastic chance. They've been really, really good this year. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. But I think, as I've said to you before, I don't think you win all four, and that's based purely on Manchester City.
Yeah. So look, I've got a couple of points about that. I think you are right. I think that is probably what, in a weird way, that Pep was trying to do with the FA Cup. I think that's a mistake personally, because what you do there,
I agree,
is you put momentum in Liverpool's hands. So if you lose that game, and which they did, and it's not just a loss, it's not the loss. If they lost 1-0 and it was or on penalties, that is kind of like, oh, and they were playing their bad team, maybe even momentum would have gone with City. But the way they lost, it just gave Liverpool confidence that if they were to meet in the Champions League final, I think Liverpool would just have that slight edge that, wait a minute, we are as good as these guys, even with a full squad. Now, I just think momentum-wise, that's why I think that's a mistake. But I think you could be right there with why Pep put out that team. There was also injuries, and the Atletico game was pretty intense, and I wouldn't have wanted to play, some of those players. The keeper, I think, was an absolute mistake. I think that's maybe done on loyalty, like in terms of, oh, you've been our FA Cup keeper, so you get to play. And I don't agree with that. But
that's what I mean, though, Maze. Like, when we talk about where the teams are and what is deemed or perceived as a decent season, let's just say, right, you were playing Kelleher. I don't know if you have, maybe you'll inform me, in every single game up until this point.
Mm-hmm.
As a fan, wouldn't you be like, I'm sorry, but there's no way you're playing this game, Alisson's playing? Or would you have been like, oh, well, we should stick with Kelleher?
I think it depends. The League Cup, we did play Kelleher, but it was a different time of the season, where I think if that was City in the final and it was running up to the end of the season, that we wouldn't have played him, because momentum is so big. But that was playing Chelsea in the final, hard team, but that wasn't about momentum then. It was just about getting a trophy. And I kind of get it. I think he earned his spot, but I don't know. I think it was a mistake in terms of doing that, because momentum is so massive right now. About your opinion on oh gosh, I forgot what it was. I had it in my head.
The quadruple, perhaps.
Yes, quadruple. So I agree with you. I walked away from a last podcast and thought, oh, I didn't really mention this. Liverpool are good enough to win the quadruple. They are. The reason I don't think it's happened is City are too good not to win anything. And that's the issue that you have. City are so good that they will win something. So the quad, if City weren't it, if this was the year that Leicester won it, right, where every team is poor, I would say, oh yeah, Liverpool quad. If they don't do it, they should be disappointed. But the fact is, Man City is so good, they're going to win something. I think it could be, I just keep flip-flopping between what it is. And I think if City get to the final, they might, of the Champions League, they might just start resting players. I don't know. I think that was the other point I was going to raise. I think Liverpool's squad is just as deep as City's right now. I think that in some flex spots, they might have a better midfield, but our striking power, which is kind of what you want at this point of the season, is much deeper. And I think our defense is deeper, as you can see by when City brought in those players for the FA Cup. I think that we could change around a bit more of it. Like we could have played Gomez instead of Trent maybe and made a difference, and it wouldn't have been as big an impact. Yeah, if we'd lost Virgil van Dijk, that's the one player you probably can't lose out of that back line. Probably could have even played Kelleher and not seen the biggest of fall-offs compared to Allison. You would have, but not as big as their drop. I don't know. I just think that we are a bit deeper right now, which is crazy to think of City being the deepest squad you've ever seen in your life at the start of the season, but maybe just getting rid of Fernando Torres. Was it Fernando Torres? Sorry, what was his name? Torres.
Ferran.
Yeah,
Ferran Torres.
Yeah, midway through the season, just things like that. Potentially.
Do you think part of the reason that Liverpool have caught up to City in terms of quality and depth is because, well, you know, God, you've spent quite a considerable amount of money? Just say it, Maze. I'm not going after him. Just admit it, because the viewers need to appreciate this.
Well, we have spent money.
Thank you. That's all. No further questions.
But it's such a baited question because we've spent money, but other teams have spent more.
But I'm not knocking it. You know, you've heard me many times say I'm always of the view the team that spends the most wins.
Yeah.
No point resisting it. But yes, the thing is, I think it's a bit of a shame, really, that that we'll come on to in a bit, that you've just got two teams that are so far ahead. But I wanted to ask you this before we move on. I know you're not going to want him to lose his job, so I'm not even going to bother asking that. What happens if you finish second, win the League Cup? You lose to Chelsea, Villarreal put you out, and then you just finish. You just by 1 point, you just finish second. So I'm not going to say what should happen to Klopp because he's earned the right to stay, and I can't believe I've said that, but I have. Hold on, Maze. In the summer, is it great team? All we need now is just a little bit of a confidence boost, and we'll just go again next season? Or are you saying, right, we're at a crossroads now. We either build on it, or we need to seriously just say, right, Salah, if you're not staying, go, and we'll sign this player. Mane, maybe it's bedtime now. Diaz has come in and been so brilliant. Players like that. Your thoughts, please, Maze.
Yeah, I mean, it would be very disappointing here if you ended up with just the League Cup. Again, I agree with you. He's not going anywhere, but there would need to be inquests into how do we make sure the next season we get over the line? Because I think if we don't win anything next season, the priority will be winning the Premier League. It will be winning the Premier League and doing kind of what we did. So say we lose out on the Premier League by 1 point. I think what will happen next season is that we will do exactly what we did the season after missing out with 1 point. We'll probably go on a massive run and win 99% of our games. However, there would need to be an inquiry. There'd need to be, what is the reason? Is it that we don't have a good enough midfield and maybe we need to strengthen that midfield? Or is it that we just accept that City and Chelsea are just catching, well, Chelsea are catching up and City are just at a different level? It was tough because I don't actually think there's too much more improvement you could do in terms of, I think, you know, we're at a point now where there is, if you could take where we are at the beginning of the season, where you've already won a trophy, you win 10 more games and you win 3, you at least win 2 more. So if you win all of your last 10 games, you at least win 2 trophies, potentially win the quadruple. So, I mean, mental, really. Look, we'll move on to Ten Hag, because I want to get your opinion on Ten Hag, the massive job he has to do. And we'll kind of start off by discussing the Liverpool Man United game, because I think it was massive. It was essentially one of the, I heard somebody say it was the worst loss they'd ever seen to Liverpool, right? And I thought, oh, but Liverpool beat them 5-0. How is that possible? And then I thought about it and I thought the difference is pride. After you get beat 5-0, I think the next game you come in, you go, well, we're at least not going to lose badly. Like if we're going to lose, we're going to throw some tackles around. We're going to make sure that we make this as hard as possible. And it took 5 minutes for Liverpool to break them down. Harry Maguire completely out of position. Second goal was maybe the best goal my favorite goal of the season for Liverpool. And then, yeah, I mean, third and fourth goal just completely finished off. But I thought it was a horrible loss from a Man United perspective. And that, yeah, it was I don't know how to describe it without being completely brutal on Man United, saying that they need a massive change. And it just shows how big Ten Hag's job's going to be. Did you catch it, George? And what were your feelings on it when you watched it?
Didn't catch it because I knew what was going to happen. The thing is, it's not teams that I equally detest. I'll let people work out who I hate more in their own time. But I knew what I was going to find. I got what you were saying to Liam about how you'd want the players to be scared, because underneath it all, it is still a big game. It doesn't matter, you could be 16th and they could be first. Like it's still a massive game in the calendar. Of course it is. I don't really know what I can say that hasn't already been said, that people don't already know about Manchester United and where they are in the squad. I mean, all I can say is what I've said a million times. I'm getting really fed up every single time, they win a game, they lose a game. It just goes Tweedledee, Tweedledum, Tweedledee, Tweedledum, right? It's either a crisis or there's an excuse. It's either the ownership are terrible, despite the fact that 99% of fans out there would, and I mean this, literally kill to have owners like that. But then it goes to an excuse. Oh, well, Solskjaer just wasn't an elite manager. Well, Ronaldo's just greedy. Pogba doesn't want to be there. It's Mourinho's fault because he knocked all the confidence out of them. It's not fair. Tom Heaton needs a pay rise. It's just garbage every single time they win a game, lose a game. There's either a crisis or there's an excuse. I mean, from your guys' point of view, perhaps maybe shouldn't say it's a statement win because you should have beaten them and you did. But I think it's a real confidence booster to get, not to say that the fans aren't already on side, but even if, let's say, what we were speaking about before, you just win the League Cup and you finish second. Well, Liverpool fans will look back and think, we literally beat them 5-0 and 4-0.
Great point.
So
it goes,
yeah.
All back in the day, all my whole season was around beating Man United. Before Liverpool started winning trophies, and maybe the FA Cup or League Cup appearance was the only thing we get, or we're going to come second or third. The best part was you beat Man United at home. We never beat them away, but we beat them at home. Like it was, and you're right. I'll look back on this and think that was the season we beat Man United 9-0 on aggregate, which is a great thing. Do you think the gulf has ever been bigger between those two teams? Like even when Liverpool were pretty poor at points of those seasons. Do you think there's ever been a bigger gulf?
I'm sure if you look throughout history, there will have been. Like when
I should say Premier League, or maybe up until
in our lifetime.
In our lifetime. Let's go
there. I think there has obviously been times where Man United have been first and Liverpool have been 7th, 8th.
Yeah.
But I think you knew what you were going to get from those games. I think, like you've just said before, I think that seeped into the dressing room where Liverpool, even if you were out of every competition, like Man United would be the big game. That Gerrard would always turn up in those games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they felt it a lot. Your hero Gary Neville saying Liverpool always gave us a hard game, even when they were miles behind it. Whereas the Man United team now is just everything everyone says it is. So
I think you hit the nail on the head there. The difference is that when we were going through those times, we always had that player, that talisman player that would pick you up through those games. I just think this season specifically, United, they've had Ronaldo, but he didn't play against us for good reasons. But we had Gerrard. We had Alonso at points, Suarez,
Mascherano,
Torres,
Torres.
Mascherano. We had all of these players that were fighters and that wouldn't let teams just roll over. Even Luis Garcia or someone like that, just somebody that would not let a team just roll over you. Danny Murphy, Owen. These guys were they wanted to play United with all their heart, and I just think they didn't have those players that put everything in. And I think that's maybe the difference. Maybe the difference is United at the end of that game. I don't know if you picked this up, but there was an interview with Bruno Fernandes, and he said, they go, why did Liverpool beat you so bad? And he said, oh, because they've got something to play for. And I thought, well, first off, you guys are playing for top four. And second off, surely like honor and the game is something to play for, right? Like, even if you don't think you're going to get top four, playing against Liverpool, like you're wearing the Man United shirt, surely that is something to play for. I thought that was outrageous, that statement that he made. I probably should publicly apologize for it. I don't think it got enough of the rounds for it to really blow up, but mental that he said something like that. I'd be absolutely livid if we lost 9-0 on aggregate to Man United. And I'm just trying to think, Trent Alexander-Arnold came out and said, yeah, but they've got something to play for. They're playing for the quad. It's like, well, no, that's not the reason I want you to. I beat Man United. I hate Man United. So this is why you should do it. Like, yeah, interesting. Okay, we'll move on from the gulf between those two, George, and we'll move into the gulf between top three and the rest of the league. Now, I always remember when I was growing up, one of the big pulls to the Premier League was, oh, but anybody can beat anybody, right? Anybody can beat anybody. This is why we have the best league in the world. It feels like that is slowly going away, and we're becoming that Barcelona, Real Madrid, the Bayern Munich, maybe Dortmund, the French leagues, maybe the Italian league. Like, there's 2 or 3 teams in the Italian. Maybe the Italian league's probably the best at the moment because anybody can win that. But at the moment, it feels like there's a massive gulf between those 3 teams, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. Even there's going to be like a 3-tier system now where it's top teams, top 6 teams, and then the rest. Is that what you see it as right now?
Really, really interesting question. I mean, I've thought for many years now, probably since about 17, 18, that I think, to a slightly different extent, but how is the Premier League not a farmers' league? Because people will go, well, it's not, because look at the teams in the Champions League. Okay, but you would say that Bayern Munich doesn't count because it's in a farmers' league because they're miles ahead of everyone else. Manchester City are miles ahead of everyone else. Paris Saint-Germain are miles ahead. Real Madrid and Barcelona usually are miles ahead of everyone else, and Atletico are there 3rd, 4th, wherever. Rangers and Celtic miles ahead of everyone else. I've always taken issue with it's the best league in the world, but maybe now it is. Now, the reason I used to take issue was I always believed the top teams in England are nowhere near the best teams in the world.
Yeah.
But the teams that finished 10th in England beat teams that finished 10th in pretty much every other league.
Yeah.
So I thought what made it interesting was the mid-table clashes were of higher quality. You go back 15 years, Charlton versus Crystal Palace, or Fulham versus Everton was a decent standard of football. You wouldn't be able to go to a mid-table game in Italy or Germany or Spain perhaps and see the same quality. However, now I think that you see the way that English teams are performing in Europe, it's difficult to say that it isn't. So it's a difficult question, really. I think it is the best league in the world for me at the moment, but I do think it needs to be acknowledged that it is almost as much of a foregone conclusion that it's going to be City Liverpool, and maybe Chelsea to the same extent. It's going to be Real Madrid, Barcelona, and maybe Atletico.
Definitely for the next couple of years. I think maybe one of the interesting parts is that, Man United pump enough money in, surely. As what Gary Neville said, the world is round, they will be back at some point.
Well, this is exactly why I said that I think they'll win the Premier League before Arsenal, based on that and that alone.
Yeah.
If you keep gambling, eventually you're going to win.
Yeah. Arsenal look like they're on the up, but the thing is, I don't see any other team getting 98 points apart from the two top teams right now. Even Chelsea, Chelsea are going to have a remarkable season. They're going to finish on like 87 points, which is nearly, apart from these two teams would win you nearly every other league, but they're going to have a remarkable season. They're going to come third. And I know you've actually said this a couple of times, George. So, it's credit to you to pulling out Chelsea, defending them back at, a couple months ago, saying that they're not doing poorly. They're just, other teams are doing much better. And I think that for other teams like Man United to win, Man United, when they win their first Premier League, they won't get 93, 94 points. My opinion, they'll get 89 points and they'll win, and the other teams will have to drop off. Same with Arsenal. Arsenal aren't going to get 98 points. It's just other teams are going to have this level has to drop off for other teams to win it, because the only way that you learn how to do that is kind of being in that run. And I don't think other teams, like, if more teams are in that run, it's impossible to get 98 points because you have to beat other teams around that level, essentially. I think it's trouble brewing for us to become that farmers league where it's just two, three teams that can only win it unless money or something changes.
The thing is that is important is it has always been like that. But I think the difference was how it used to be is there'd be 4 teams in it, then there'd be 3 teams in it, then there'd be 2 teams in it, and then maybe about 3, 4, 2, 1 game to go, one team just wins it, and they go, that was exciting. Whereas now it's like, right, 2 teams are going to win. In fact, for this year, everyone needs to be honest with themselves. Man City are going to win it. 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 They're still going to win it. Oh, okay. Liverpool have won a few games, but they were games in hand. Man City is still going to win it. Okay, City didn't beat Liverpool. City should still win it. Liverpool, if it was the start of the season now and it was 10 straight games, Liverpool would win it, but City should still win it. That actually is it, though, isn't it?
I think what these two teams do, it doesn't take away from entertainment value for a neutral that wants to watch good, decent football with a good competitive title race. But the competitive part is between 2 teams and not 4 teams now. It is literally, if you want to watch a really good run-in, this year will be a great run-in. The 2020 year, that was a great run-in. Last year was boring. The year before that was boring. Then the 2020 year was great. Look, we'll move on because I think the gap is quite big, but we are moving on to a little bit of a similar topic where we're talking about relegation teams. We're talking about that gap right now. A team coming up, I think Norwich came up with one of the most ever points last season, right? Or the most goals, I think it was. And Fulham are going to come up with again a great number of goals. I think Mitrovic has scored 40 goals in that season. Mm-hmm. Crazy. And probably favorites to get relegated next season. If you're all honest with yourselves, that gap from Championship to Premier League, and how do you feel about Leeds right now? You think they're still in trouble, George, or you think they're fine? Everton are the only ones that need to be concerned?
I said a few weeks ago, and I think I do still stand by it. I think we need 2 points. That's the thing. But I'm either coming across as overly concerned or arrogant. But one of the two. I just think we need to get to 35, and I think that keeps you up this year. I think the concern for me, though, is Crystal Palace on Monday. You know, I know you think Palace deserve to get fourth. I mean, they've won 8 games all season. Leeds have won 8 games all season. Everton have won 8 games this season. You know, that they're 4 points above Leeds, not 40. But, you know, I'm honest enough to say they're at home Monday night. If I was a Palace fan, I'd expect them to beat Leeds. Then our games after that are Manchester City, Arsenal, Chelsea.
Oof.
And if that is none out of 12, we're going into Brighton, who we have beaten once in our last 10 meetings, and Brentford. And we never win in London. And I don't think I can't remember us beating Brentford at Brentford. So we'll honestly just have to see, because psychology, as you've said, and momentum and stuff is massive.
Yeah.
If, let's say, just to humour it, us and Burnley are now on the same points, the same number of games played. They're on 28, we're on 33. You're thinking, okay, that's a 5-point gap. Burnley get a point at Wolves. They beat Watford and they beat Villa. And we don't win any of those games I've just mentioned.
They also have a game in hand. Oh no, Everton,
No.
Sorry, have a game in hand. Sorry.
Yeah, then it's time to panic. I mean, I'm nervous. If I was an Everton fan, I'd be really concerned. I would be massively concerned. So they're in a similar boat to us, where you look at their next 3: Liverpool, Chelsea, and Leicester. They're exactly the same. I mean, I just don't know what it is with Burnley. It could be that they've played Southampton, who are on the beach now, like they are every single season. Wolves beat them next week. Watford realise if they're going to have any chance, they have to beat Burnley and do something, and then we don't know. But just looking at Burnley's fixtures, Wolves, Watford, Villa, Spurs, Villa again, Newcastle.
The best of those bottom teams, the best by a long way.
Absolutely.
That Newcastle game, last game of the season, they need something. Newcastle are 40 points. They're on the beach already. They were literally taking photos outside the stadium, you know, at the end of that game, because 40 points, that nobody's getting 40 points, right? So they're on the beach. Villa are on the beach. They've got nothing to play for. They've got Villa twice.
It's funny. It's funny you should say that, because Nathan put money on Villa to get relegated yesterday.
Did he? That's great. But I haven't even looked at them. Like, I don't even know where they are. They're 36 points.
Yeah, they're 3 points ahead of Leeds.
It's not a bad shout.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They're 3 points ahead of Leeds. They've lost their last 4 games. Do you know, since they beat us 3-0,
yeah,
they haven't won a game.
Oh my God.
And they've got Leicester, Norwich, Burnley, Liverpool, Palace, Burnley, City.
So you're not expecting to get anything from the Liverpool Man City games.
You're looking at that and you think, okay, probably beat Norwich.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. If Burnley get up for it and do the dirty on them twice,
that's a 6-point change.
I know.
That's massive. That's actually huge. I didn't even realize that. Oh gosh. Oh, that would be a great story. You heard it here first, guys. Look, we'll have to see if that is. So I do you think Everton are in? Who do you think's in the biggest trouble then, right now? Everton or Burnley?
Everton.
Even with Dyche gone?
Yeah, it's like what I've said to you before. Perception, expectancy. If I was a Burnley fan, I'd be annoyed that they've been in the Premier League so long, and that, you know, and I'd be annoyed they got rid of Dyche with the fixtures they've got coming up. But that'd be it. I'm a Burnley fan. If I was an Everton fan, and I've seen the money we've spent in recent years, and I've seen the sort of player we thought we were signing, the fact we had Don Carlo as manager last year, who's on the cusp of winning a Champions League, I would be furious if we went down. Yeah. The other thing as well with Burnley is, if Burnley go down, maybe Weghorst goes, maybe Cornet goes, but Rodriguez, Lennon, Ben Mee, Collins, Roberts, McNeil, Barnes, Brownhill, Peters, Bardsley, Hennessy, Goodmanson, Taylor, all those players will probably stay. They'll give it 1 year, and there's a great chance they come back up again in a better position for it. Everton, well, Delhi's gone. Van der Beek obviously goes back on loan. Richarlison goes. Mikolenko goes. Calvert-Lewin goes. Anthony Gordon probably stays. Rondon will go. El Ghazi will go. Patterson will stay. Pickford goes. Iwobi will stay. Tosson will go. Damari Gray will go. Michael Keane probably goes. Alan goes. Gomez goes. Seamus Coleman will probably stay. Ben Godfrey might stay for 1 year. Townsend will probably stay. Decore goes. Mina goes. You know, there's a lot. The whole
also they might get a points deduction the next year.
Yeah, might get a point.
You know, they're in trouble next year anyway.
That's the thing.
Oh gosh, they have so much going on at that club. I actually feel proper horrible for old Everton, in a malicious way from a Liverpool fan's perspective. Yeah, interesting. I agree. I have a feeling Everton are going to squeak out of it. But I don't know if that's good for you or not, because I don't know if you think that Burnley are going to catch you, but I have a feeling Everton will just squeak out of it. I think
the thing is, Leeds, Everton, Burnley, Watford, Norwich, all of us deserve to go down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be honest with you. We've been miles off it this year. I know we've won 8 games, and I know Everton have, but there's been a bit of a change in the Leeds fans recently, because we had our accounts come out. We turned a profit last year, which is massive. I think we're only one of 2 clubs to do it in the Premier League, so that's obviously good news. We've started to play a bit more pragmatic. It's just about getting over the line.
Mm-hmm.
We look like we might have more investment, if not a full takeover from the 49ers. So that might mean more money to play with, and that's great. But I think with Everton, Goodison might keep them up, because they've got Chelsea at home, they've got Brentford at home, they've got Palace at home, and like I've said to you, they will beat Arsenal. That is honestly, it's nailed on. They will beat Arsenal. And next time Liam's on the podcast, I'll make a wager with him, because I just think Everton will do it. Whereas for us, like I've said, I just don't know. I just don't know. I think in a week's time, after we've played Crystal Palace and Burnley have played against Wolves, and then we'll see. But I mean, I think a win against Palace keeps us up. I think a draw keeps us ticking along nicely. If we lose that, then I think it will only be a matter of time before people start to panic.
It's a great way to finish that part off, because I think it is going to be a good end to the season for the neutral, maybe not for a couple of fans. Let's move on just to the scores. I'll quickly run through them. If you have anything you want to say about any of these games, look, I know we didn't go into Chelsea Arsenal. I was thinking we could go into that with Liam and whoever he wants to bring on as an Arsenal supporter as well. No, I think he wants to. I think we've got a special guest coming up next week with Connor. Look, we'll go through them. Liverpool 4, Man United 0. Diaz, great player. Salah got a brace, and Mane. I actually thought Mane was man of the match. No, Thiago. Oh gosh, there were so many man of the match in that game. Thiago was unreal. Chelsea 2, Arsenal 4. Werner, Azpilicueta, Nakata, Smith Rowe, and Saka. Then we had Everton 1, Leicester 1. Barnes got a 5th-minute goal. Richarlison got a 92nd minute goal. Oh gosh, a very good point for them there. Newcastle 1, Palace 0. Almiron getting a cheeky, well, it was actually a great goal. Very good. 1-0. City 3, Brighton 0. Mahrez, Foden, Silva. I mean, it looked a bit dicey at the start, but a couple of nice deflections, and City won very comfortably in the end. Burnley 2, Southampton 0. Roberts and Collins. Big game there. That was a big result for Burnley. They needed that. Any of those you wanted to quickly go over, George? Or
no, but I thought we were going to take some time to discuss Erik ten Hag.
I mean, we can discuss it. Oh, I didn't bring Erik ten Hag up. We'll finish off with Erik ten Hag.
Exciting.
What does Erik ten Hag need to do then, George? Because that was the question I was going to pose to you, and I completely forgot. I want to know what he needs to do. Does he need to go in and gut it? Because we spoke about this with Liam, and he gave a pretty good answer about not essentially not expecting much from him. But what do you think he needs to do?
What do I think he should do, or what do I think he will do?
Okay, what do you? Yeah, give me both. Give me both.
What do I think he will do? I think thing is, he should do this, and I think he will do this. The first thing he's got to do is he needs to have a Gareth Southgate style PR system, because I think every Manchester United manager since Ferguson has failed with that. Moyes looked like he was so excited and so happy, and he almost as if he couldn't quite believe he had that job, which then made people go, well, actually, he can't believe he's got this job. Maybe there's a reason. Why has he got this job? And don't get me wrong, I completely get that you and Liam rate him now, and he's been very successful. But at the time, when I think a lot of Man United fans would have wanted a Mourinho or an Ancelotti or even a Guardiola at the time.
Imagine that.
Yeah,
God, that would
to
have
not
been
get that. Van Gaal, I mean, I don't know about you, but all I remember about him was just real confusion about what he wanted from the team, and a bit of an annoyance about the way they were playing with much more defenders than attackers, and nobody in that team had any pace. With Mourinho, as you know, falls out with everyone. You're either with him or against him. Solskjaer, again, just not, everyone knew he just wasn't a good enough manager. And Rangnick, as well, it's just one of those where he's here, but he's not here for the long term.
Yeah.
If honestly, if I'm being honest, all I picture is him in an Adidas Manchester United winter coat with his glasses on and his little spiky hair, going, that's all. And things, don't get me wrong, like if they get fourth, he's done a terrific job. And at times, I think he's ground out some important results for them. But you know, he just doesn't strike me as a sort of manager wants. So I think he's got to get his PR right. But I do think he needs to be honest and say and set very early on what it's going to be, that the forthcoming season, depending on where they finish, is just going to be about getting top four. If we get a trophy, great, but that's what it's going to be about. Judge me on that. And if I don't make it in my first year, I'm still finding out, and I find it in the second year. So, I mean, he's got a lot to do. I think he needs to work out very quickly who he wants, who he doesn't want. I'm sure he's already got his own preconceived ideas, but he'll learn a lot on the training pitch. But he's got a monumental task. One of my good friends who's a Man United fan said he's not expecting much. Great chance he's gone by February. So there we go. What do I want him to do?
Mm-hmm.
I'd love him in his first press conference to go in there, Mourinho style, and say, I've won this at Ajax, I've done this with Ajax, and I did that because I had players that believed in the system I was doing. I've worked under Guardiola, I've learned from him. I'm not saying I'm anywhere near as good as him, but I understand how he gets the best out of players. And then I'd do something like go like that, or maybe scratch my jaw and go, there is one thing I just want to make clear. I'm Man United manager, not Gary Neville, not Rio Ferdinand, nobody else. And I'm asking the Man United fans to look at what they see with their own eyes and believe me. Do not form your opinions on this team, and do not take the recommendations of someone who is a great public speaker, is fantastic at articulating complex messages to an audience who've never worked in the footballing industry. But bear in mind, I'm the one on the training pitch. I see what's going on. And yeah, okay, I wasn't in the dressing room in the early 90s when John Major was Prime Minister, but it's a different time now. I'm manager. I'm the captain of this ship, and we're going in the direction I want. And if fans don't like that and the board don't like it, then they'll sack me. End of. Because I think their biggest downfall has been the fact that you've had pundits and radio presenters whispering in the ear of Manchester United fans and the general public, going, well, if you're not winning the league every year, then you Man United, that's it. And one thing I will say about Liverpool fans, they were happy to tolerate for many years holding on to Gerrard and putting in a good performance against United and Chelsea, and then it was about getting top four, and then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Man United fans now, you know, crisis every week.
Managers get sacked for getting second, which is absolutely mental. George, what a great way to finish, mate. That was awesome. And I do agree with you on that. So please do follow us, guys. Click the button below and have a good day. Cheers. Bye.